Hello, everyone. Good afternoon. I am popping on regarding the serial killer case, Bob, aka Robert Evans. As you guys noticed, I am compiling a timeline, and I have found a female that has been missing from Ashton, Canada since 1976. The GIMP impression is impeccable. Now, uh, the one thing that I am hoping my little research warriors are going to jump on with this. If you look under the timeline, if you open up the Google document, also matches the name referenced in one of his so-called females, first name, of course. Now, if you go to our timeline and look at the GIMP impressions, it's it's impeccable. But the one thing that doesn't make sense to me, but then again, we're talking about Canada here, is I have not been able to connect the three children that law enforcement stated are biologically related to the adult female in her 20s, which also fits her age range. But I'm wondering, since it's Canada, if there's a lot of information that we do not know regarding this female's disappearance. Also, law enforcement did not state the biological connection with the female, the three children that were biologically related. We know the one female was not biologically related, and now we know that the unidentified girl was the biological child of the serial killer, now dubbed serial killer. If anyone has any questions why I'm going, please feel free to put them in the comment. Now, one thing is astounding to me regarding this case is how this guy was arrested multiple times under multiple aliases in multiple states. How he has gone under the radar by now, especially all these years. I mean, this guy literally has gone on a killing spree his whole life. I do, it's very possible, I believe that there's an Elizabeth as well. Now, in some of the statements, law enforcement say that they thought that the female was killed in 1977, as well as the children. But I think their guesstimation now, as far as 1980s, is more accurate. But also 77 is within that range as well. I am compiling, if anyone finds any additional information that you think should be in the timeline, please feel to put it underneath the comment section and underneath the post itself or one of the videos, and I can look at it and then add it to the timeline. If anyone has a problem finding the timeline, just comment question mark, and I can send you the Google document. Of course, there's just tons of unanswered questions around this case. Now, the one female child, which is in the range of 9 and 10, which now they're saying was killed in between 1980 and 1984. They were all murdered with blunt force trauma. Kirsty Thomas, as far as I cannot discuss that case. Any questions needs to be sent to law enforcement on that case. I am only strictly working with law enforcement regarding his case. But right now we're referring to another case. Okay, so back to the question is the 9 and 10-year-old girl that was found with the adult female in the range of in her 20s and early 30s. Um, Now the adult female and the oldest child were actually found in 1985, and they were wrapped in a plastic bag, electrical wire, um, known as a carol cable. It's a common electrical wire. Now, I know they had stated several times that they do, or they're not even aware that Mr. Evans or Bob or Robert Evans he was using at the time he was dating Denise, if that is actually his real biological name. They don't even know when his birthday is. I don't understand how someone can, this, not to, I certainly don't want to down any agencies, but one thing that struck me odd, and I know I've had a lot of people come forward to me in the past and say, hey, law enforcement won't allow me to report my loved one missing. Especially when they've gone missing in the 70s and 80s back then. There's really no way, once a person is 18 and the laws were different back then, I believe that if someone would have taken this report back then, but it is my understanding that they would not, is that um, this would have been caught a long time ago. But then again, we're not always privy to all the information that law enforcement has, even someone like me that works on these cases. So I see a lot of negative comments regarding, law enforcement and stuff with this case. I ask you to reserve your judgment because there's a reason why they're not telling people certain things, and this is now actually a very active investigation. And I think all in all, the goals here is to also find Denise and bring her home. Another thing that I found a little odd is when he had a DWI and actually had her baby. How do you submit a cold case to me? You can just send it to our email address, or you can message me on my personal profile, which is Nancy Schaefer. But I will reach out and send you a friend request, Tara. Okay, so we know he was arrested, and he was living in a trailer park, and he left Denise's baby, which is now her name now is Lisa, and I mean, this must be very traumatic for them and their family to find out all this has happened, and it's a miracle she's alive today. Can you just confirm that I answered your question, honey? There's a little bit of delay in the video, reverse, considering me seeing your comments. Okay, so she was actually adopted, and I know they actually even did and put into foster care and later adopted. I know at some point that they did a DNA test between the girl known now as Lisa and Mr. Evans and realized that he was not biologically related to the child. Now, and said that they had made attempts to find her identity. I'm wondering exactly what their attempts were. I also have a little research. I want to know if, was NCIC around that time. I do not know when that particularly started. I do know older cases were entered, but at what time? I'm trying to find that information out right now. But they were never able to connect the child, now a grown woman, by the first name Lisa, to her missing mother, because I'm pretty sure that there were no missing persons report allowed to be filed at that time, and I'm sure her family thought that, it's so easy to speculate based off of a news article, and nine times out of 10 news articles, half of the information isn't correct. So there are always circumstances involved that we're not aware of. Okay, now the other two children are believed to be younger than 4. One's believed 2 or 3 at the time. They both were killed by blunt force trauma. Kyle, you need to stop, please. I'm trying to have an intellectual conversation with, my viewers, and we're discussing a case, and trying to solve a case of 3 unidentified, and all you keep saying about is my fire alarm. It's really disturbing to me, and I've already explained to you that there's nothing wrong with our fire alarms. There's something going on. The batteries do not need to be replaced, so please stop. Okay? I'm trying to have I'm talking about a case here, okay? And if that's bothering anybody, they can just disconnect from my feed. They don't need to hear it. Now, summer of 2001, he was arrested in California, I believe. Or wait a minute, summer 2001. See, I got a little sidetracked now. Now, he wasn't he wasn't married to June In-sung. It was an unofficial ceremony in the backyard, and her dismembered body was found buried in her basement. Now, I wonder, one thing that I noticed was a little odd about this case. Even though they were killed with blunt force trauma, he still managed to dismember, and for what reason, I have not been able to finish, in my head what the MO is, or why that would be, except for to dispose easier, or the fact that there was still an amount of rage afterwards. Law enforcement determined that he had an alcohol issue, and he did die of natural causes in 2010. serving 15 years to life for his unofficial wife's murder. Thank you, Amanda. I really appreciate that. And I appreciate your support. Right now, I'm focusing on what I do and what I do good. Um, and I appreciate the, um, I appreciate that very much. Because I'm here to help. Um, okay, now the possible match that I had submitted, I don't know, has everyone seen the GIMP process that I did? Looks good, but doesn't explain the biological relation to the young children. Isotopes match. Um, Now I do have the GIMP process inside of the timeline as well, but I also have it on our Facebook page. Another thing that struck me that some of the reports are saying he may have been in the military, possibly the Navy. Now, I do know because I actually worked a case, actually not a missing, well, I guess you would consider it a missing persons case, but we assisted a fine young gentleman and his family in his quest to find his biological father. Now, I do know he was on the USS Enterprise, and I actually have did a lot of research and a lot of work on that case to know enough of how that works and how that wasn't his real name, how it wasn't picked up from fingerprints, because I do know, but there might be something that I'm not aware of back then. Thank you, Amanda. You know, Amanda, I have come to realize that there are good people in this world, and there are evil people in this world. Evil people don't like to see good people succeed because then good is overwinning evil. And the minute you let evil take down good is the minute you let them win. God is the only person that needs to judge me. Any person that attacks me on my page or does anything will be completely sent to law enforcement and harassment charges will be filed. I'm done, and I thank you guys for your support, but I don't want to dwell on that right now. I want to focus on solving this case because I think I have a very, very good possible as a female for being the unidentified female that was in the barrel with the 9 to 10-year-old. Okay, now she is actually missing from, I want to say Ashton, Canada, which is in the isotope area. Now, I am actually going to work on, and I'm hoping to have this up very soon. There was a unidentified female, but it wasn't done as a rendering. She was unidentified, but they had actual pictures of what she looked like. She was a prostitute. She was murdered, I believe, by her pimp, but she had gone by an alias her whole life, and that actually wasn't her real name when she was found murdered. So she has been unidentified for a while. I think I know who she is, and what I did is I took the pictures of that they have found in the hotel room of her, and I did a regression. A regression is actually, instead of a rendering or it's actually making the person younger. So I'm actually working on that right now. I'm taking his pictures back from 1981, and I'm going to show what he looked like at a younger age. And one thing I want people to keep in mind with this case is, with all my work with past and serial killers, they always tend to use information that I want to say that they can remember, like in some of his aliases, right? And you can see, if you look at the confirmed aliases, he used the name Curtis more than once. I'm going to say, based off of my professional opinion, that I think that Curtis is part of his name. They always use something that they can familiarize with and remember, and they will use that more and more often versus other aliases. I think it's possible his last name may be Jensen. So if you look at all the aliases, the proven aliases, it might actually be a relative or someone in his family's bloodline. Every serial killer I've ever, I mean, this is just, this case really takes the case with me. You know, I mean, I don't even know how someone can do this under the radar for so long and get away with it. I mean, Jesus, I can't even switch my license over because I'm having a hard time finding one of my divorce papers, which is going to cost me $36. You know, I mean, it's so hard now for someone to even get or switch over a license, even that being you. Imagine living your whole life under a fake names. I mean, it's just a little weird to me. So, the names that he's used multiple times is Curtis, Kimball is one of them, and Jensen is another. Now, growing up in Franklin, New Jersey, I actually am related to a Kimball. And Jensen is a name that I'm very familiar with. A very popular one. So yeah, I'm going to be doing, I'm actually going to be releasing I still have more work to do on it, but I'm actually doing a regression of what this monster looked like at a younger age. I wouldn't be surprised if he was not a runaway. I wouldn't be surprised if he's not a reported missing person. Just saying, it fits the profile. And I believe that it's possible he did speak other languages and possibly isn't even from the United States. I think it's very possible he may be from Canada, Quebec. Now, I want to cover the biological child that's related to the unidentified little girl, which is biologically this good. My question is, where's this girl's biological mother? Now, one thing that I want them to consider is looking in Canada for this little girl's mother as well. Only because she does look some form of Indian. In certain places, I'm going to be putting a mark out of, you know, I'm actually mapping some stuff out right now, and I'm going to be releasing it soon. Now, with my cases, especially around the Montreal and Ottawa area, that little girl looks, as far as her features, from that area. Now, one thing that struck me odd, if I'm wrong, I believe he had one point said, I don't know if he was from Wyoming or, I don't think that's true. I believe he may be from Canada, Ontario, Toronto, maybe even Quebec area. I believe he's originally from the areas where the isotope testings showed this was from. Now, they did say 1977 to the, or 1970s to the 80s. That's a very vague timeline for that, because just think about it. I mean, you got 10 years. I'm going to be popped off and finish my work. Does anyone have any questions? I'm going to give it like a minute. Just so everyone knows, once I reconvert this to the YouTube channel, that we do this live first on Facebook, and then we convert it over to our YouTube. I am in the process of setting up to go straight from the YouTube first versus the Facebook. I'm just going to give it a minute to see if anyone has any questions. I'm also asking our little research bunnies. I know there's a lot of people like me that are very good at this. If they can connect the 3 biologically related people from in the area where the isotopes, especially in the Ashton area, or around the female that I think is a good match for the unidentified older female, please put the information in my inbox or underneath the comment box, please, because we're just trying to make the connections here. I think a lot of the unidentified here in New Jersey, maybe some Pennsylvania, and ones that I've really worked on a lot, are connected to a lot of missing Canada people. It's just my opinion. And the thing is I think they have, kind of talking databases between the United States and Canada. But for one, I know there's nothing to do with DNA or matching any kind of connections, unfortunately. And I think they should. I really think they should. Because it's not unlikely to think that if this guy can murder people his whole life and live under assumed names for all that time and kill people, that it's not unlikely to think that someone came from Canada into New Jersey and was murdered or got killed in an accident, to think there's a reason why they're not unidentified. It's not unlogical thinking at all. Okay, guys, thank you very much. I appreciate everybody hopping on and talking with me. Thank you again, Manda. And thank you, Christy. I'll talk to you guys later. Thank you very much, and have a good day. Bye.